doesn't get it, of course, is Nigel Farage. He wraps himself in our flag, but his policies don't match British values. We must call his scheme to round up and deport our French, our Indian, our Caribbean neighbours who already have indefinite leave to remain what it is. It is
Nigel Farage, schoolboy racism claims explained. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button because we're about to unpack one of the most controversial allegations that keeps resurfacing in British politics. And trust me, this story has more layers than a Pret sandwich. All right, let's dive in. Picture this. September 2024, the Labour Party conference. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy is giving it large in an interview with BBC Politics Live, and out of nowhere, he drops a proper bombshell. He claims that Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. Just like that, on national television. Now, you'd think in 2024 would have moved past schoolboy drama, but apparently not. Farage's team hit back immediately, calling the comment disgusting and libelous. Lammy backtracked faster than a politician caught in a lie, clarifying this, and Farage denied it. He accepts the denial. Convenient, isn't it? But here's the thing that makes this actually fascinating. These allegations didn't just materialize out of thin air. They've been lurking in the shadows of British politics for over a decade, and every few years, someone decides to resurrect them. So where do they actually come from? Let's rewind to 2013. Channel 4 News drops a documentary that alleges young Farage had expressed some pretty extreme views during his time at Dulwich College in the 1970s. Fast forward to 2022, journalist Michael Crick publishes One Party After Another, a comprehensive biography where he digs into Farage's schoolboy years. And this is where it gets properly interesting. Crick unearthed a letter from Chloe Deakin, an English teacher at Dulwich College, written to the master of the college at the time. Deakin wasn't happy, and I mean genuinely furious, about a decision to make young Farage a prefect. Her reasoning? Well, according to her letter, she had no direct personal knowledge of Farage himself, but she cited testimony from colleagues who described him using some absolutely shocking language. One colleague recalled a combined cadet force camp where Farage and other boys marched through a quiet Sussex village late at night singing Hitler Youth songs. Think about that for a second. The school chaplain apparently weighed in, saying that when boys express those kinds of views at that age, they are deep-seated. They mean them. But wait, there's more. Deakin's letter goes on to describe further allegations. A colleague described Farage as having publicly professed racist and neo-fascist views, citing an incident where he was so offensive to another boy that he had to be removed from the lesson. These aren't vague suggestions. They are pretty specific accusations. And they kept coming. Crick's book includes testimony from various classmates and teachers, and honestly, some of it is absolutely damning. Stuart Dunbar, a first-year classmate, recalled that Farage had this thing about the National Front, with chalking it on boards in classrooms, though admittedly that was also his initials. But here's where it gets contradictory. Dunbar also said Farage got on well with Paul Cousins, described as a black kid in the year. So what's the truth? Did Farage have a problem with black people or not? Bob Jope, a former English master, recalled concerns that Nigel had voiced views that were not simply right-wing but views that were racist. He actually threw Farage out of a class for shouting, "Shut up, you Jew." An unnamed Jewish pupil claimed that Farage sidled up to him saying things like Hitler was right or making references to the Holocaust. But, and this is important, the same person acknowledged that Farage was quite capable of being reflective, intelligent, and quite charming. In 2019, an anonymous article in The Independent from a Dulwich old boy claimed Farage would frequently shout things like "send him home" and sing gas all to the tune of a wartime George Formby song. Another contemporary, David Edmonds, said Farage was a deeply unembarrassed racist who used words like wogs and parkies, didn't like Jews, and enjoyed rubbing people up the wrong way. Yet Edmonds also said, bizarrely, that despite being Jewish himself, he didn't actively dislike him. This is what makes the whole thing so messy. You've got testimony that's genuinely contradictory. Here's the problem, though. Not everyone from Dulwich agrees with this narrative. Michael Crick himself acknowledges that the picture is confused. Old boys divided equally between those who recalled Farage voicing extreme views and those who said they never heard anything untoward. Jonathan Main said he never heard Farage say anything racist or insulting, describing him instead as larger-than-life and quite self-deprecating. Even David Ems, the actual master who decided to make Farage a prefect, the man at the center of all this controversy, defended his decision in 2013. He said he thought of Farage as a naughty boy who'd got up the noses of the teaching staff through chirpiness and cheekiness rather than racism. He saw potential in him, and by his own assessment, he was proved right. Terry Walsh, MZ's deputy, suggested Farage adopted a sort of facade, a persona, but that he didn't actually believe it. He was, Walsh claimed, too caring and considerate of other people. So what does Farage himself say about all this? When he responded in Crick's book, he claimed he joined the Conservative Party in 1978 and thought far-right movements were ludicrous, balmy, and dangerous. He argued that there were hard-left teachers who joined during the class of 1968, and that a bunch of teenagers, himself included, enjoyed winding them up. He said terms of abuse between 15-year-olds were limitless with no boundaries, and that red-haired boys fared especially badly. When confronted by Channel 4 in 2013 about singing Hitler Youth songs, he called the accusation completely silly and said he didn't know the words to such songs. As for racist remarks, he admitted, "Yes, of course, I said some ridiculous things, not necessarily racist things. It depends on how you define it." He went on to acknowledge he was a difficult, bullshit teenager who pushed the boundaries of debate further than perhaps I ought to have done, but insisted he'd never been a member of any extremist organization. And here's where we land on the real question. What do we actually make of this? The allegations are serious, no question about it, but the evidence is genuinely mixed. You've got some people saying these things happened, other people saying they never witnessed anything like it, and Farage himself offering explanations rooted in teenage rebellion and winding up left-wing teachers. The characterization from school officials who actually had authority, Ems and Walsh, suggests they saw naughtiness and boundary pushing rather than genuine fascism. Yet the accusations from classmates and teachers are specific enough that dismissing them entirely feels dodgy. This is British politics at its most complicated, a story that refuses to settle, where the truth seems to exist in the grey middle, and where every few years someone decides to resurrect it for maximum political effect. The real takeaway here is that we're watching this narrative get weaponized. David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, bringing it up in 2024 suggests it's going to be ammunition for years to come. Whether that's fair or not, whether it's proportionate or not, is genuinely up to you to decide. But what's undeniable is that this story isn't going anywhere. It'll keep resurfacing, keep getting debated, and keep shaping how people view Nigel Farage. So there you have it. The schoolboy racism claims explained, unpacked, and laid bare. What do you think? Subscribe for more deep dives into the moments that actually matter in British politics.